Alright, so it's been about, from when I'm recording this, a little over an hour since the June 2023 summer Nintendo Direct happened. I should note that I didn't actually watch a lot of it per se. I was actually at work, so I only had access to the audio. Although I did watch a couple of the actual trailers for stuff I was interested in, which unfortunately wasn't a lot. Probably the most exciting announcement for me in this whole direct was actually the Princess Peach game for next year. I think a kind of 2.5D platformer in the Mario series sounds fun. And it could be a little refreshing to have a new protagonist, and they're going with like a stage theme too, which could be cool. Surprised they didn't at least give it a title, although maybe the title spoils something they want to show off later. I'm assuming this is completely separate from Super Princess Peach on the DS. I think it would be cool to, if there is multiplayer in this game, to bring in the other major female Mario characters as playable, like Daisy, Rosalina, and Pauline. Speaking of playable Daisy, we did get a new 2D Mario game, Super Mario Wonder. Don't get me wrong, I like the 2D Mario games, but they're not really super exciting for me. I will eventually pick it up when it goes down in price and play through it and have a decent time. I don't know, I guess I'm happy they're trying a little bit new art style, and this isn't, new Super Mario Bros. Again. I think I'm going to call it the wonder mechanic of the wacky altering of the worlds. I mean, that seems like it could be interesting. And like I said, I think this is the first time Daisy has appeared in a mainline game since Super Mario Land, which is kind of cool. And she's playable too. I think it would be cool if they, one of these times, go a little more all out with a 2D Mario game with playable characters. Maybe they'll do it here. We know 5 so far. But I don't know. Why not? I will say I did like what we saw for the next wave of the Mario Kart 8 expansion pass. Honestly, expectations, I was expecting something like Birdo with costumes or maybe 2 characters, but we actually got 3, and there's some decent picks too. Like, I liked Wiggler in Mario Kart 3DS. Particularly, I like how they, got angry when they got hit by items and that. I think that's a nice touch and something pretty unique. And finally seeing Kamek in a Mario Kart game that isn't Tor, who is, of course, known to be intended to have been playable in 64, is cool. And the new stage has an interesting theme and looks fun. Another big announcement was Mario RPG. Honestly, all I've got to say about it is good for the people who wanted it and will like it. But personally, I don't give a shit. No offense, but not much more I can really say about it. Luigi's Mansion 2, Dark Moon getting a Switch port. I mean, I'm interested in playing it. I already have it on 3DS, so I don't really see a need to get it on Switch. So it is what it is. Like I said, I was only listening to the audio, so I actually thought the Princess Peach game may have been the 2D platformer there until the end. And another misconception, too, was when they were announcing a new WarioWare game, I thought they were perhaps doing a re-release of Wario Land Shake It instead, which personally would have sounded more interesting, but especially considering we already have a WarioWare game this generation. And hell, I don't feel like that really came out that long ago. Pikmin 4 is another highlight of the Direct for me, just because I loved Pikmin 2. The thing is, I still haven't played Pikmin 1 or 3. So even with Pikmin 4, I've liked what I've seen so far. Hell, I liked even what we just saw in that first big trailer with that dog thing and the ice Pikmin, I believe. Like, they could have left it at that and I would have been excited. So, seems like there's even more than that. But like I said, I'm not too worried about seeing it just because, like I said, I'm not even caught up on the series yet. I'll probably wind up playing 4 before the other 2. but it's just not something I feel the need to really dive in and see what's going on. I just sort of keep it a more of a secret and surprise to see exactly how everything works together. Although that's not to say I completely care about spoilers or whatever either, personally. Surprisingly, they brought back Detective Pikachu. And there's DLC for the latest Pokemon games. I don't have much to say about that, but it was surprising. I thought they were done with Detective Pikachu. Who knows, maybe we'll get a new movie and they'll push that into the new Nintendo cinematic universe they may be creating. Which also, I guess, makes it not that much of a surprise that there's this much Mario stuff going on, given the movie's success. Or even if it wasn't successful, I'm sure they still wanted to plan a lot of stuff around it. Splatoon 3, I thought they were going to show Side Order. Surprisingly, they didn't. Maybe that's due out next year, I guess. But I don't get why they're announcing Splatfest in Directs, too. I mean, to me, that just doesn't sound like... I don't know, when I think of a Direct, I think of, more major new content or games, and that just doesn't really fit, in my opinion. If they announced an update alongside it, then I can maybe see it, but I think that's all they showed, and like I said, nothing for Side Order. I don't know about that. And then they showed off the Zelda and Ganondorf amiibo for Tears of the Kingdom, which is cool. I actually already bit the bullet and got the Link one from Tears of the Kingdom, so I guess I'm a little disappointed I didn't wait, because maybe I would have gotten one of the other ones instead. Particularly, I do like Ganondorf's design in Tears of the Kingdom, but Zelda's is pretty good too, though. But I'm probably not going to get any more from that series. A couple surprising ports. The Batman Arkham trilogy, which at first I was wondering, do they mean Arkham Knight or do they mean Arkham Origins? But it is Arkham Knight, which Arkham Asylum and City isn't too surprising. I think City was on Wii U. Knight is a little surprising, although, I don't know, it would have been interesting if they brought over something like Gotham Knights. A little newer. I know it didn't necessarily do as good, but I don't know, personally, having a bit of a newer game would have been a little more exciting. But the Metal Gear Volume 1 collection, or whatever they're calling it, is coming to Switch. That's definitely one I wasn't thinking would really happen either, but I don't know, I saw someone bring up that kind of similar collection came out on Vita, and I don't know, I don't know how much it cost or anything, but I think that seems like a good deal, like all those Metal Gear games they listed. All of the mainline except, 4 and 5? Granted, I do have most of them. I don't have 2, and I don't have any of the, NES ones. Although I'm not really as interested in some of those ones, but I don't know, it's something to keep an eye on. Maybe I'll get it down the line. Maybe I should look into, how... Because I have PS1 MGS, and I have Snake Eater on 3DS, so maybe I should sort of look at the graphical improvement between them, and maybe that'll help make my decision. A few smaller things that stood out. There was some weird pigeon rhythm game thing that's a battle royale, which honestly I don't think it looked particularly that good. No offense, but I will say it's an interesting concept, although I recently tried out God of Rock for being a very interesting concept that involved rhythm games as well, and that was kind of disappointing, so I'm definitely a lot more cautious about that sort of thing. Definitely depends on the execution. Also, there's a new game that did show off Sonic Superstars, but the one thing that kind of surprised me with that is that it isn't made by the same people who made Mania, especially considering how good Mania was. Personally, I haven't played it, but I've heard a lot of people really enjoy it. But they're working on some new game now. I didn't really see it, but hopefully that's good. Is that where I think his name's Christian Whitehead or something, that I think he originally ported the Genesis games to iOS, and I think he was a big part in Mania. Is that where he's at now, maybe? I don't know. There was obviously other stuff in the Direct, but that's the stuff that stood out to me. I did want to address a couple things that weren't in the Direct. First one, which was really surprising, was that Everybody 1-2 Switch. I mean, honestly, I agree with what I've seen some people say is it seems Nintendo doesn't even want to acknowledge this game exists with how they've handled it so far. It's like, it's ready. They can probably make a little money off of it, but they don't really want to be associated with it. But yeah, I guess it got a trailer like right before the direct, which backs this up even more. So that's definitely a very weird situation. Surprisingly, from me, you might be shocked to hear that I'm happy they didn't show the supposed Genealogy of the Holy War remake for Fire Emblem that's been rumored. Honestly, I just think that's too much. Engage hasn't been out that long. You had the sister series Advance Wars have its remake released. I think if that's destined for Switch as like a smaller sort of help us get to the next generation title, I think late next year at the earliest. I think people might be a little fatigued if you just release them that quickly, and I would much rather this game come out in between the next mainline game as opposed to right after with a longer wait in between the two entries. Also, I would have given this like a 50-50 chance anyway, but F-Zero GX remake, remaster, or whatever that's rumored. I mean, I like F-Zero GX, and I'd buy it again to support the series. I thought the rumors said it was due out this year, so this seemed like the time to show it, so I'd probably give it a less than 50% chance of happening now. Although, another thing they did show off is that they are re-releasing Pikmin 1 and 2 on Switch now. And I think the Metroid Prime remake came out, like Pikmin 1 and 2, immediately after the Direct, so maybe there's normally one more in the year. Maybe that's what they're planning to do with F-Zero too. So it's not necessarily over yet. Now, if it doesn't happen at the next Direct, I would say, I don't know, maybe we're at a 30 or 40-ish percent chance of it happening. If it doesn't happen at the next one, I would probably put it under 10. And if it doesn't happen at the end of the Switch generation, I would say these rumors have a less than 1% chance of pulling through. But yeah, I mean, I think it seems reasonable. I mean, Nintendo, I think, has flat out used the excuse that F-Zero GX was so good that they don't know how to really continue off it. But it's like, the main two things I can think of are to upgrade the graphics and add online play, which they can do in like a little remake re-release. So, keeping my fingers crossed, and like I said, I hope that generates enough interest to revive that series, but I still wouldn't hold my breath on it either. I'm actually kind of surprised I was able to go off for this long about the Direct. Like I said, it didn't really feel like, I wouldn't say a bad Direct, but one that for me is personally appealing. But yeah, I decided to just do this all now like this just because I think last time I waited, because it was in the afternoon, the Direct, and like I said, I could have waited like an hour and then came home and watched it like it was live without knowing anything, but I figured it happening so early and then having to like avoid a lot of the internet for hours while I sit bored at work wondering what happened in the Direct. I figured that that wasn't as feasible, so I guess that's why this Direct was handled differently from the last one, which I just sort of recorded live as it happened, or attempted to. I think I had to redo some stuff. I don't remember for sure, because I think there was some audio whatever issues. Or was it? I think it may have actually been the capturing of the Direct itself that there was an issue with, not the audio. Regardless, I guess that might be sort of setting the precedent for how Directs are handled here. More based on what time they occur at.